Alright, what is going on, everybody? Today for my Xcode tutorial, I'm going to be talking about breakpoints, debugging, and running on iOS devices. So, first on the menu is breakpoints. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this little breakpoints button, or when you're in some code, if you accidentally tap a line, it leaves these little arrows, and they might not be self-explanatory as to what they are. And so these are actually called breakpoints. And what a breakpoint does is lets you go back to your code. So let's say you're running it on the simulator, and what's actually happening is it's executing different blocks of code at different times, and it executes them from top to bottom. You may or may not know that, but that's actually important because, let me just pull up some code here. Let's say we're running this, I don't know, this chunk of code right here, and basically it's running the top layer first, then it goes through each of these sections, and sometimes it works, sometimes it runs and sometimes it doesn't, if it's like an if statement or a conditional. And so what a breakpoint lets you do is actually stop your code at each of these points that you've chosen, breakpoints. And where is this useful? Well, it's really useful if you're trying to accomplish a certain task and you can't, something's not working. Some variable you think isn't being changed, or, some string isn't turning out right. And so I'm going to show you how to use breakpoints, just a really brief introduction, because this is actually a really deep, in-depth topic. And you can take a whole class on debugging and breakpoint navigation if you're in a university. It's just a huge thing, but I'm just going to get you started. So what I'm going to do, this is my vector decomposer app. It's free. It's kind of like a physics app, but I guess you could use it for geometry too. Anyways, so I'm going to use this block of code for my vector decomposer app, this one right here. And so basically, I'm taking the different values of the arms of my triangle, and I'm doing mathematical operations with them. So I have a bunch of variables: length, angle, magnitudes, and then I have some strings and some text fields and labels that I'd like to update. And so first thing here that I'm going to do is I'm going to set some breakpoints. So just for my first, I'm going to do one at the first line of code, where I have basically the only variable that has been initialized, I guess, is this double length. And then I'm going to do a couple here. Maybe I'll do one here. Maybe I'll do one here, and maybe I'll do one here. And obviously you would pick them a lot more discriminately if you were actually trying to debug something. But just for this sake, I'm going to show you how to do this. So I'm going to scoot this over here actually, so that you can get some more room. So there it is. Here's my app, and it's running just fine, right? Because I actually haven't done anything that triggers the breakpoints. If you'll see I'll call it a function, but it's actually a method in Objective-C. But the method, I always get them mixed up, that we're looking at is the do-add. And so that happens when I hit the decompose button. So let's put some numbers in here. Maybe go 25 and 10, just for simple numbers. And keep it in the first quadrant, because all that does is change the picture. Anyway, and then right here when I press this decompose button, it'll actually look like my app is hanging. But it's not. It's the breakpoint kicking in. And so if you'll look here, on the bottom here, maybe I'll bring this up a little bit so you can see what's going on. It paused. There's a little green arrow right here. If you can't see, whoops. Little green arrow, zoomed in. And that means that the code is actually paused here. And so if we look here, it shows all of these different little things in this little white box. Some of them are just nonsense. Self, underbar command, sender, those are just kind of system variables. But then you start to see these different things that we have actually synthesized ourselves. And so if you look here, angle, double 7.2 times e to the negative 309. So that just means 0. That means 7.17 with 309 zeros before it. So that just means 0. My double length, pretty much the same thing, negative 324. Double for my magnitude. So all these are just garbage. And it's because I haven't initialized values to them. But as you can see, I can see that they're garbage because it says, oh, look what all these are. Like, oh, my NS string for my result is some memory address because it was just, it's garbage. If you understand programming, you'll know what garbage is, but it's not too important. So now, what we're going to do now is skip to the next breakpoint. And this is, there's a couple different things. I mean, you can do the continue program execution or you can skip over. It does the same thing. So I'm just going to hit the pause forward and it goes to the next breakpoint. And now if you look, here my angle and my double are now defined and I can see what their values are. So this is really easy because then you can know, like, if this said, like, 15 or AAAA and it was all messed up, I would know, oh, my text field that's changing my string into my angle isn't right. And so that's a great way to check. And so if we keep continuing the execution here, things start to get defined. So my double for my x magnitude is defined, and my y magnitude is defined. And the x result, which is some string, since this is a pointer, it shows the area in memory where it is. And right next to it, it shows the actual number of, whatever it is, the value, I guess you could call it, and that's 9.06. And so that's still, alright, cool, that looks good. And my y result, since we're right here, it hasn't been calculated. It knows the area in memory because it's a pointer, and it's been synthesized, but it does not know the number. So if we skip ahead, now that's actually been calculated and is in there and defined. And so that's 4.2. And so maybe you can also add breakpoints dynamically. So maybe let's add a breakpoint at the very end of the bracket. And so we'll skip forward one more time and it just goes to the end. And so that's pretty cool. And if we continue program execution, then all of our breakpoints are done inside our method, and so it actually prints it to the screen. So it's a really useful thing. Obviously, you can use them for a bunch of different things. I mean, you can do so many different things with breakpoints, and just knowing what your variables' values are is really helpful. And so that is that. I'm going to show you one more quick debugging tip, and that is NSLog. And so NSLog, stop this real quick, NSLog sounds like it would be complicated, but actually just prints something to your terminal, I guess you could call it. You'll see, you'll notice this thing here. And so it's really helpful because it's kind of like debugging and breakpoints, but you don't have to do anything to use it. So I'm going to make a couple NSLogs, and if you're familiar with C or Visual C or C++, you'll know the printf function. And obviously printf is in more languages, but you'll know printf just from, in the C has different syntax, I guess. And so NSLog uses almost the exact same syntax as printf. And so let's say I want to do, I don't know, we'll print an NSLog that says calculated, vectors or whatever. So all you do is NSLog, and it tells you your string and your format. So you do the string formatter is your first thing, which is your just @ in your quotes. And let's say our first NSLog will be, just so you can know that your action was, understood. And so now let's do another NSLog. And we'll make this one say, this is, the cool thing is you can add formatters in it. And so we'll add, I don't know, let's just say our x magnitude is, and then this is really kind of a weird thing, but if you look up on the internet, all your print string formatters, you'll know. So we're actually going to do %d for integer number, but that is, you can do a million things. You can do %@ for void, and it'll print pretty much anything. You can do %s for string, %i for integer. I mean, I guess the d is the double, but I just use double for any number. So anyway, x magnitude is %d, and then we'll choose our variable to be printed inside this formatter. And so the variable is going to be, let's just do xmag since it's already been calculated. And so you'll see that that's fully defined, and oh wait, I have an error here. Oh yeah, I guess I should use %i or %f since it's a floating point number. Anyways, see, you'll learn all these things, but the nice thing is Xcode fixes them for you. So maybe we'll add one more, and we'll do this string this time. Final is %, not at sign, %s. Close the quotes, and we'll do y result. I don't know, just so you can see. And actually, I might be off on this one too. Char star, but has a string. Oh, son of a... I guess I don't know my formatters as well as I think. Well, we can always use the wildcard. Good trick. So, yeah. Now, let's test it out, and I'll show you what it does. So if we run this in the simulator, now right here, you'll see one that says it received an add. Alright. And then we'll do 25 and 10 again just to get the point. And done, and decompose. And whoopsies! If you'll see here, I still have breakpoints on. So let me just turn them off, stop it, and run it again. And then decompose it. And so look, inside, I'll make this bigger, inside this command interface, it tells you all the things, all the values of your variables without having to do breakpoints. And so, I mean, this isn't quite as useful because you can't do it on the fly, but it's really great if you're doing big code to get some feedback on whether or not your system worked. And so, yeah, received add. Then the next one says the vector has been decomposed. Alright, the x magnitude is this. Yes, that's correct. And the final display string is this. And so, definitely we'll do it one more time just so you can see that it actually works. Yep, so there you go. X magnitude is 9.06. Final display string is 4.22. And that matches. And that actually isn't the value of those labels. It's the true value of the variables. I'm tripping over my words. And yeah, we're getting on 13 minutes here. Ended up being pretty long, but I'll try to chop it up. Let me know if you have any more questions. I'm going to do one more tutorial today on running your code on your devices and why that's helpful. And that's really it. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. As usual, thank you for watching, guys. Peace.